music swells. The camera closes in. The wise, charming, and slightly eccentric comic artist turns to face the viewer. Hello, I'm Tom Brown, half of the creative team responsible for Hopeless Maine. Now becoming slightly less formal. What we're going to talk to you about today is our creative process, and in particular the visual storytelling that we are involved in with Hopeless Maine. We're doing the 2-page spreads for the volume After Sinners, and it has a really catchy name, this volume. We don't know what it is yet, but it's going to be really catchy, trust me. Now what we do with Hopeless Maine is we have a structure where we do a chapter cover and then a 2-page spread, and in each volume, there's a 2-page spread there in progress. I'm going to be coming back to that in a minute too. Is in each volume the 2-page spreads and sometimes the chapter covers serve a different purpose in each book. And we think about these things a lot. We think about these things, frankly, way too much, more than is probably healthy. In the first book, the 2-page spreads were a sort of journey pieces, taking you from one scene to another, or moving a character along. In the second book, what did they do in the second book? In the second book, in the second book they were sort of elsewhere on the island, so that you had the main storyline and then just things that weren't going on in the storyline but were happening elsewhere that might have been important or pertinent, or sometimes not important but just kind of interesting to us. In the third one, Sinners, which is coming out soon, it focused largely on the doings of Melisandre, and it had a sort of a mini story in it about Melisandre bringing someone into the vampire tribe on Hopeless Maine. It's not too much of a spoiler. And that's the other good thing about the 2-page spreads, is that we can talk about the mini stories because they're not part of the main plot without giving you any spoilers at all, if I do this right. And if I don't, Nimue, who's holding the camera, will tell me. Yes, she nods. It's true. Okay, in terms of too much thought, what we're working on now is, as I say, the spreads for the unnamed book After Sinners. Catchy title, very catchy title. And it's going to involve the doings of Drury, and Drury is the most adorable semi-deceased dog. Here's Drury. Isn't he cute? Look at him! How can you not love that little face? He's adorable. Yeah. So it will be Drury running around the island causing chaos, closely followed by Donald. There's Donald there, weeping, just with usually an expression of horror or dismay on his face, and not being able to contain or control him in any way. We started out with Drury leaving the Pallid Rock Orphanage, and the other thing that we're doing with the spreads and the art in this volume is sort of consolidating the landscape of the island, so that everyone will have a more concrete idea of what's there and where it is in relation to everything else. And also because there's been an incredible amount of feedback on the fauna of the island, the creatures, the spoonwalkers, the dust cats and all that. And we've got Team Spoonwalker and Team Dust Cat. It's getting silly out there. So since people love that, we're going to give them more, and Drury is going to be interacting with a lot of the fauna on the island. So the first one was Drury breaking out of the Pallid Rock Orphanage, which we get to see actually for the first time up in the upper left-hand corner, get to see it in its entirety for the first time, and Donald chasing after him. In this one here, we have Drury running across the Bridge of Bottles, causing all sorts of bottle-based mayhem, attempting to bite a gnee, and discommoding some teasel heads. And then there's these, we don't have a name for them yet, but they're definitely a species. So I've drawn it all out. This is the process. I've drawn it all in this big paper on this little tiny drawing board. And next I'm going to hand it along to Nimue, who's going to go into it with the colored pencils and make it absolutely gorgeous. And then I'm going to come in on top and just pick out some, reestablish some lines and etch in some tiny bits of detail. And then we scan it, and mostly that's exactly how it's going to appear. We sometimes need to darken it a little bit so that we can put in glows for like candle flames and glowing eyes and things like that.